In response to COVID-19, PSP is offering telefitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the telefitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Prior to participating in this session, and to make an informed decision on whether you should seek advice from a qualified exercise professional or healthcare provider, consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document by clicking on the links below. By continuing with this telefitness class, you understand that there is a possibility of physical injury and you agree that you do so voluntarily at your own risk. You also assume all risk of injury and agree to release the Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services from any and all claims related to your participation in this telefitness class.
Hello again. I am your Petawawa fitness instructor, Jessica Tetlaw, here with another functional mobility class for you. Flexibility Mobility Fusion. We're going to work on functional mobility of your hip, specifically the front of your hip and hip extension. So hip flexion and hip extension. If you have tight hip flexors, this might feel really good for you. We're going to work on improving your active control of the range of motion of your hip. So not just can you lift your leg into a position, are you able to actually move and control that position? We'll do that by using some principles from the functional range conditioning system. We're going to work on some CARs, controlled articular rotations, basically joint circles with intention. We'll do some pails and rails to help improve not just the amount of range of motion that you have, but also the strength at that range of motion. So to start, we're going to be standing. Eventually, you'll need a pillow or a stool and a wall or just anything that you can rest a hand on and put a foot on. We'll start standing. You can use a wall for support, or if you have really good balance, you can just place both arms straight out in front of you. I have medium good balance, so I'll have one hand on the wall and one arm right up in front of me, out of the way. I'm going to squeeze my fist. I'm going to screw my left foot into the ground, start creating tension throughout my whole body. And as I do that, I'm going to pull my right knee up towards the ceiling, trying to get as much movement as possible without tucking my pelvis under. And then I'm going to pull out to the side, trying to keep it as high up as possible as I rotate my hip back and pull through. We're going to do this 3 times. So pull that knee up as high as possible, draw it out to the side, trying just to move from the hip joint. We're trying not to rotate through the spine or move anywhere except that hip. So we've done 3 rotations forward. We're going to push that leg backwards, reverse direction, pull the knee up to the ceiling, back in front, and then complete the circle. We'll do that 2 more times. Each time trying to squeeze as much movement out of the hip. We're moving slowly and with as much control as possible. Good. We'll relax, shake it out, switch sides. Now we're screwing the right foot into the ground. Left arm or both arms are out in front, squeezing through the fist to create tension as we pull the left knee up towards the ceiling. Let it draw out to the side, keeping the hips and the shoulders squared forward as we rotate and complete the circle. 2 more times. Pull that knee up, 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 out to the side, rotating down and back. Complete the circle, and we'll do that 1 more time. Trying to keep the shoulders stacked above the hips. You're not starting to lean forward to cheat. And as we complete that circle, we'll reverse direction, push that leg back, rotate the knee up towards the ceiling, draw it in front of you, Complete the circle 2 more times. Really concentrating on creating as much movement, as much control as possible. 1 more. And relax. Shake it out. Hopefully you didn't experience too much cramping. If you did, that's totally normal. Your body's saying, wait, we've never done this before. What are you asking me to do? And it's your job to kind of calm your body and your brain down and say, no, it's okay. I know what I'm doing. If you're experiencing any pain, just back about 10 to 15 degrees off of that range of motion. We want discomfort, not pain. Our next thing, you're going to need a pillow. If you have sensitive knees, you can kneel on it. Option to have a stool nearby. So we're going to set up in this half kneeling position. So one knee will be on the pillow and 1 foot will be planted with the knee directly above the ankle. If you would like, so we're going to be working on the front of your hip, you're going to be feeling a pretty intense stretch there. If you're feeling a little bit more advanced, you can nudge your pillow up to a stool and you can rest that back foot on the stool as you come up into your half kneeling position. So from here, you're going to walk that front foot out, tuck the tailbone, and then let your hips come forward. So we're trying to keep that tailbone tucked to feel that deep stretch at the front of your hip. We're going to hold this stretch for 2 minutes. While we're doing that, you're breathing, you're meditating into the stretch, trying to make the most of what you're doing. Try not to let this knee cave in. If it stays out of the way, it'll give you a little bit more room to get deeper into the stretch. So if you've got your foot up, you're feeling that stretch all the way down the front of your leg. If it's just resting on the ground, you may only feel it in the very front of your hip. Both options are fine. At the end of this 2 minutes, we're going to start ramping up the intensity. So we're going to kind of squeeze our feet together with our knees. We're going to try and close that gap, feeling the contraction in the front of your hip. We're going to do that for 10 seconds as hard as we can. Then for the following 10 seconds, you're going to be pushing the hips forward, not with force, but with your muscles. You're really squeezing the glute of the trail leg, trying to push the hips forward. So keep taking those nice big deep breaths. Maybe you've got a little bit deeper into the stretch at this point. We're about halfway through our 2-minute stretch. Still trying to keep that tailbone tucked under. If we allow the tailbone to become untucked, you're just going to feel less of a stretch in that front leg. We won't be targeting the same tissues. Make sure that you are set up for your balance. If you need something to hold on to, you can grab it. Otherwise, you can definitely rest your hand on your leg. We're going to start ramping up intensity. So squeeze the knee towards the heel at about 20% intensity. 40%, 60%, you can bring the arms down by your sides, 80% tension, 100% tension, squeeze as hard as you can, like you're trying to bring your heel to your knee, but they're not actually moving. Squeeze that back glute, push the hips forward, staying in discomfort, no pain. Stay where you are, but release the tension. Try not to come out of the stretch. We're going to hold this position. We're going to stay here resting for about 30 seconds. You can readjust that front foot if you need to. Maybe you got a little bit deeper into the stretch. You need some more space. And then at the end of 30 seconds, we're going to repeat that. So no 2-minute stretch, but the 10 seconds driving the heel and the ankle, the heel and the knee together, followed by 10 seconds of driving the hips forward. So we're going to ramp up to 20% tension, 40% tension, 60% tension. We're going to make that big jump to 100% tension. Drive the heel towards the knee, not actually moving, but as much intensity as you can muster. Squeeze that back glute, push the hips forward. Stay where you are, but release the tension. Maybe you get deeper into the stretch, maybe you don't. Both are fine. Good. Gently bring your hands down towards the ground. And you can come out of that stretch on that side. Give yourself a quick little break. You can grab some water. Just give your brain, your body a little bit of rest before we move on to the other side. Okay. So same options. You can just have the back leg resting on the floor, or you can elevate the foot and use that pillow to support your knee, whatever's comfortable for you. We'll come back up into that half kneeling position on the other side. Make sure you've got your balance. Tuck that tailbone under, feeling that stretch activating in the front of the hip. And you can just gently push the hips forward till you feel that end range. You're feeling that stretch all down the front of your leg. We're breathing, we're meditating into the stretch for those 2 minutes, trying to get as deep into it as we can before we start to do the 10-second contractions. So as we reach the end of the 2 minutes, we'll start to ramp up to that full maximal contraction. And we'll do that by squeezing the heel towards the knee, like you're trying to bring the ground together. They don't actually move, but it's that sheer intention of creating that movement that activates the muscles as fully as possible. Then we'll follow that by squeezing the glute of the trail leg to push the hips forward, creating more range of motion, more strength at the joint. So what we're working on right now is hip extension, so the ability to take our leg behind our body. Remember that you're staying within discomfort, not pain. It should feel challenging, but there shouldn't be any stabbing, burning, shooting. All of those are big no-nos. And there's this misconception that if you push through the pain, it'll make you better, but no. In this case, and in most cases, if you're pushing through pain, you're just making things worse. Pushing through discomfort makes you better. So let's start to ramp up that tension. We're at 20%, driving the heel and the knee towards each other, maintaining our breathing. We're at 40%, 60%. We can start making fists. 80% tension. Almost there. Now 100% tension. Squeeze the heel towards the knee and the knee to the heel. Squeeze that back glute. Push the hips forward. Keeping that tailbone tucked. Stay here. Release the tension. Maybe get deeper into the stretch. Maybe not. And we rest here for 30 seconds. Meditating into that stretch for 30 seconds. Returning our breathing to normal. Maybe your heart rate has increased. We're trying to relax that. Keeping that tailbone tucked. Readjusting the front leg if necessary. We're going to ramp up. That 20% tension. 40% tension. 60% tension. Almost there. Big jump, 100% tension. Squeeze as hard as you can. Squeeze that back leg, push the hips forward. Release the tension and relax. Holding position, but all the tension is melting out of your body. Maybe you get deeper into the stretch, maybe you don't. We'll bring the hands down towards the floor and gently come out of the stretch. You might find that you're feeling a little bit tired. You might feel more tired than usual after completing a session like this. That's totally normal. You worked really hard in a way that your body isn't used to, and that can be very fatiguing, not just for your muscles, but also for your nervous system. So let's grab a quick sip of water before we start working on our hamstrings. So again, you can use your pillow to support your knee if you wish. That back leg is resting on the ground. We'll take the front leg out in front of us. So we're going to keep just a slight bend in that knee. Draw the shoulders back, and our chest is going to go up, forward, and then down. So we're not rounding through the spine. You can push your hips back slightly as you hinge down. If your balance is okay with it, you can have this leg slightly out to the side, because if you get a big increase in your range of motion, your torso is actually going to come down beside your leg. So we'll start that 2-minute stretch. If you want, you can have something to hold onto just to give yourself a little bit of balance and support. Keep that knee slightly bent, toes are pointed up towards the ceiling, and we're feeling that stretch all along the back of our thigh. So as we meditate into this stretch, we're breathing. Our 10 seconds for this one is going to look like driving our heel into the ground as hard as you possibly can, followed by pulling deeper into the stretch. So not physically pulling, but using the muscles at the front of your hip, you're going to pull yourself deeper into the stretch. The goal is to get as deep into the stretch in those first 2 minutes as we can. Try and find the end of that passive range of motion so that we can increase and strengthen right at the very end of our capability. Remembering that the chest isn't coming straight down, it's up, forward, and then down, keeping that nice neutral spine. And you'll notice if you do round your spine, suddenly the stretch doesn't feel as intense anymore. That's because we're not hitting the right angle to really make the most of it. So we're reaching the end of our 2 minutes. So it's time to start ramping up the intensity. We'll start pushing the heel into the ground at about 20%, 40%. You can keep your hands down or you can bring them up when we come to 60% tension, 80%, 100% tension. Drive that heel into the ground as hard as you possibly can. You might be shaking, that's totally normal. Now pull deeper into the stretch, keeping that chest up, forward, and down. And bring the hands down. release the tension, and stay where you are. Maybe you get deeper into the stretch, maybe you don't. We rest here for 30 seconds. Returning our breathing to normal and our heart rate before we repeat the fun all over again. Here we go. Start ramping up. Drive the heel into the ground, 20% intensity, 40%, 60%. Let's make the big jump to 100% tension. Drive that heel into the ground as hard as you can. Now pull deeper into the stretch. You got it. Pull, pull, pull. Chest goes up, forward, and down. Hands return to the ground or your support as we release the tension. Deep breaths. Now to get out of this position, I prefer to rock my weight forward until my foot is flat and then slide back to a kneeling position. So let's repeat that on the other side. We'll set up again in our half kneeling, so knee can be on the pillow if you wish. Bring that other leg outstretched in front of you, knee slightly bent. We'll find that stretch by hinging forward, chest going up, forward, and then down, really feeling that stretch in the back of the leg. Meditating into the stretch. Using our breath to relax the muscles to allow us to get deeper into the stretch. Not forcing anything, just when your body feels ready to give you a little bit more range of motion, it will. If you've been sitting a little bit more than usual, you might find that this is extra uncomfortable because your hamstrings feel tight. That's totally normal. This is something that you can do a few times a week to kind of counteract those things. This does count as strength training. We're creating that maximal contraction that a lot of people don't even get when they're lifting weights because they're not bracing their core properly. If you learn to create that 100% contraction just with your own body weight, imagine what you can do when you're holding a weight in your hand or on your back. Okay, I'm going to start ramping up that tension. Drive the heel into the ground, just about 20%, 40%. Hands can come up for 60%. You're squeezing those fists. 80% tension. Here we go, 100% tension. Drive that heel into the ground as hard as you possibly can. Now pull deeper into the stretch. Chest goes forward, or up, forward, and then down. Pull, 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 pull. Hands relax, release the tension. Maybe you get deeper into the stretch, maybe you don't. Both are fine. And we rest here for about 30 seconds before we do that again. Nice big deep breaths. Checking in with yourself. Is your spine still straight? Do you still feel that stretch? And we ramp up to 20% tension, 40%, 60%, Big jump, 100% tension. Drive that heel as hard as you can. You got it. Almost there. Now pull into the stretch. Relax the hands, release the tension. Maybe you get deeper into the stretch, maybe you don't. Good. We can rock forward to come out of that stretch. Good work. Grab a sip of water. You can move anything out of the way. You just can still keep that pillow nearby. So if you have any discomfort in your back, you can use the pillow under your belly to support your back. We're going to be lying down on our bellies. So if it's more comfortable, you can use the pillow to support you. Arms are going to be straight out in front, and we'll bend one leg. What we're going to be doing is moving from the glute, so not from the back. We're going to lift that foot straight up to the ceiling. So you can see that my back isn't moving at all. I'm not kind of arching or anything like that. We're going to lift that foot up towards the ceiling and maximally squeeze, create tension in that position for 10 seconds. We're going to do 5 reps on each side. We'll start with the right side, and then we'll move on to the left side. So get yourself comfy, nice big deep breath in. Exhale, start to ramp up and drive that foot up to the ceiling as hard as you possibly can, like you're going to stamp your foot on it. And relax. So you might see that my leg was shaking a little bit. That is a maximal contraction. You're putting 100% effort in. Deep breath in. Exhale, here we go. And relax. Good job. Deep breath in. Exhale, third one. Here we go. Squeeze as hard as you possibly can. And relax. So you shouldn't be feeling this in your back at all. It's all just glute and hamstring. Deep breath in. Exhale, second last one. Squeeze that glute as hard as you can. Stamp that foot on the ceiling. And relax. Good job. We've got just one more on this side. Deep breath. Exhale and push. Remembering to breathe, creating tension through the arms. Whole body is involved. And relax. Good job. If you cramped, that's totally normal. If you fought through it, good for you. We're going to switch sides. You can grab some water if you wish. Readjust, make sure you're nice and comfy. We'll bend that other leg. So same thing, 5 sets of 10 seconds, trying to stamp that foot on the ceiling. You're not moving through the spine at all. It's all just coming from the glute and the hamstring. Here we go, deep breath in. Exhale and push. Push, 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 push. Stamp that foot on the ceiling as hard as you possibly can. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Deep breath. Exhale. Push. Hold that leg as high up as you possibly can. 3, 2, 1, and relax. 2 down, 3 to go. Almost done. Deep breath in. Exhale. Here we go. Lift, squeeze that glute as hard as you can. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Okay. We've got 2 more. Deep breath in. Exhale. Push. And relax. Good. You got one more in you? I think you do. Deep breath. Exhale and push. Get that leg just a little bit higher. Squeeze the glute. Stamp the foot on the ceiling. You're almost there. And relax. Good job. So now that we've done a bunch of strengthening, a bunch of increasing the range of motion, we're going to return to those hip cars that we started with at the beginning. We'll go back into our standing position near a wall or just standing on your own one foot if you've got really good balance. Reorganize yourself, get those shoulders rolled back and down, stacked over the hip. You can have one hand resting on the wall if you need to. You're going to screw that left foot into the ground. Bring the right arm out in front, squeezing through the fist. We're going to try and get even more range of motion out of this than the first time. So pull that right knee up, 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 up. Don't let that pelvis tuck under. Knee comes out to the side. Internally rotating, so the knee comes down as the foot comes up. We complete the circle and drive that knee up again. All the way around. Good. That's 2 times. We'll reverse that movement 2 times in each direction on each side. Complete the circle. Drive back, open up. Knee comes up to the ceiling and around. Good. Shake it out. Switch sides. This is the last thing that we're going to do. Screw that right foot into the ground. Left arm comes up in front. Squeeze that fist and pull the left knee up towards the ceiling. Let it open up and then rotate. Complete the circle. We'll go one more time. Pull, 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 pull. We'll open up and rotate. And then complete the circle. We'll reverse that movement, push that leg back, and rotate up. Bringing that knee forward. Complete the circle. We'll go one more time. And relax that leg down to the ground. And that's it. That concludes your functional mobility class today. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Again, my name is Jessica Tetlaw here in Petawawa, and I hope you have a lovely day.